brows, A to Z. I'm going to change color because that green is not so visible. Okay, so what's the first thing that we do when a client walks in? If you have a client, they come in for an eyebrow appointment, what do you think would be the first thing we do?
Just kind of look at their brows and get a visual, general idea.
Okay, that's true. When they walk in the door, I'm studying them. Okay? But there's something else that I want to do first thing.
You're greeting.
Smile, greet.
Smile,
handshake,
greet. That's true.
big smile.
We want to be nice. Okay, we're going to do paperwork.
And paperwork.
That's number one. Yeah, you want to greet them and be nice and all that good stuff too. Okay, paperwork consists of their personal information, their name, address, age. Why do we want to have their age? Because we want to verify that they're over the age of 18. So,
State of Iowa requires you to copy their ID card.
okay, there are states that require that. Here in Texas, they just want us to check and make sure they're over the age of 18, which could be visually looking at a driver's license. When I had my tattoo shop and we had huge volume, especially on weekends, we would automatically copy their ID and attach it to their chart. Now, you know the 80-year-old lady is not 18, so why do you have to do that? You have to write down their date of birth and everything, because if the state inspector comes in and goes through your files, he doesn't know this lady had gray hair. All he knows is you didn't get her age. You didn't verify her date of birth. So that's why you want to verify their age. You want personal information too. Why do you need to know their address and all these kind of things? It's because the state here in Texas, and again every state law is different, the state requires you get address and contact information in case something happens in the future. Maybe there's an allergic reaction with a pigment or somebody gets an infection. The state wants to be able to look through your files, and if need be, they want to be able to contact people. So you've got to get phone numbers, address, and all that personal information. If somebody says, I don't want to give you this, are you going to sell it? You tell them no. It stays private in our files. I have to have it because the state requires it. Nobody else is going to see it. We're not, giving you this information to anyone else. And if they tell you they still don't want to give it, then show them the door. You've got to comply with laws. Okay, now, the other paperwork that you give them is a medical history questionnaire. And we're going to go over that later, what's on there and what you have to look for. And your consent and release form. And this is also called a informed consent. In other words, they're completely informed about what's going to happen, how this procedure is done. They know it's a tattoo. They know there can be pain and swelling and so forth. Okay, let's assume everything checks out on their paperwork. Our next step, the client comes in, they do their paperwork. The next thing you want to do is take them back to your treatment room, and you want to remove their makeup. Now, I don't take their complete facial makeup off, but I would remove everything up here in the brow area, like if they have brow pencil or makeup on. Remove makeup, and then you're going to take a before photo. This is really important. Take your before picture. I take a full face for eyebrows without the makeup on. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is, during this time when I've been doing all this, I've kind of talked to them. Do you have an idea of a shape you like? Is there something you like? Or do you want me to create an eyebrow for you? Most people come in, and I would say about 80% of your clientele are going to say, you're the expert. What do you think would look good on me? So they want you to be able to draw some nice brows. Okay? So, at this time, I would start drawing. Now, what I use, I don't have one here, but I like to use just a plain eyebrow pencil and a dark brown. I buy them from Walmart or Walgreens, the NYC.
The cheap ones.
The cheap ones. Or I also like the Wet n Wild.
Don't you too?
Yeah, let me tell you why I like these. It's because they're very soft and they go on fast. You can draw quickly with them. Now your more expensive brow pencils are great if you're wearing makeup all day and you need them to stay on. But for, you know, those things, it's hard. You draw and draw and draw, and it's hard to get the pigment or get them penciled on the skin in the beginning. So they're not really practical for drawing quickly. I know some people that will use Sharpie markers. So I don't really like Sharpies because, you know, a client gets up and they look at their brows with a Sharpie, and it's kind of hard for them to get a visual.
Sorry.
I know, it's funny. Use Sharpies for doing
We
tattoos.
use black Sharpies for
I know.
freehand drawing all the time.
Well, yeah. We did too at our
I
tattoo
know,
shop.
but I'm just saying, yeah, we use them all the time.
But that's a
I love
little
the
different.
fine line ones now that they come
And the
out
red
with.
ones
Yep.
are good. But for doing on the face, you really don't want to do
I
that.
know.
Now, the hardest thing too, I use a dark brown even if I'm doing a client who I know I'm going to do blonde brows on. I use the dark brown color simply because I want a very crisp pattern to go by. I don't want any questions. So I don't use a blonde pencil when I'm drawing eyebrows on for the permanent makeup work. Okay? And I explain to the client, they're not going to be this color, I just need a good pattern to go by. Okay? Now, my drawing, depending on what I'm doing, if it's a client who has no brows at all, it's going to take you longer to get these brows on looking good. So I may spend more time, 15 to 20 minutes, just drawing the brows on. That's where I take my time. Once I get them drawn on and everybody's happy, it's quick putting them on, you know, applying the color, implanting the color in the skin. So take your time doing this process because this is the critical part. And when we start doing eyebrows, I'm going to show you how to measure and make sure they're even and different things to look for.
So you just go ahead and start inserting the pigment on top of the drawing?
No.
No.
No, we're going to do a pattern
Okay.
on the eyebrow that we've drawn, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, drawing. She looks at them. You want to show the client. Have her look at them and study them for a couple of minutes, and then obtain client consent or really approval. Now, I don't have them sign off on anything here, but I just want them to look at them very carefully and make sure that's what they really like. If there's any doubt, they don't like them, then we sit and we draw some more. If I can't make her happy, then sometimes I just send her home that day with the drawn on brows. And a lot of times, you know, maybe she's been drawing them on and they don't look so good. So she goes home and her husband's there and her kids, and all of a sudden she's got some beautiful brows. They're going to say, wow, they look great. You know, that'll give her confirmation that, you know, what she did is really good. So sometimes I'll do that. I never try to talk anybody into anything that they're not sure about because it's permanent. You can't talk anybody into anything that they're not sure about. Okay, let's say she loves them. Our next step, you're going to have the client lay on your facial bed. I always work with them laying down. And you're going to apply your pattern. And I'm going to show you when we start doing hands-on how to do a pattern. Okay? Now, when we do the pattern, I'll show you just briefly right here. Let's say you've got your eyebrow on. And this is actually pencil. And it's all filled in solid, because you want to fill it in solid so she can really see what that's going to look like. And let's say you're going to sit her down. You're going to grab your soft tap hand tool or your machine, whatever you're doing your pattern with. And you're going to dip into your pigment and you're going to apply your pattern. And you're tattooing it in very lightly. A very light pattern all the way on the very edge. Okay? But it is tattooed in just very lightly so that in 4 to 5 days when it heals in, these little dashes flake off and they're gone. So it's a temporary pattern. Okay, so I've done that. Have y'all noticed something I haven't done with this client?
Number.
I haven't numbed her, right? Okay, this little bit of pattern here, honestly with a hand tool, it doesn't, in fact it feels less, it doesn't even feel as bad as tweezing. I'm trying to say that. It's not as intensive as tweezing your brows. So it's something that they can handle, for the most part, without anesthetic. Okay? So I do not, let's put this in here in big letters, do not pre-numb brows. In other words, you don't sit them out in your waiting room for 30 minutes with a numbing cream. Because number one, the skin on the forehead is so thick, it's really not going to do any good. You're wasting your time, you're wasting their time, and you're wasting your product. So, in putting this pattern in though, I've tattooed it in real light. I've broken the skin, right? The skin is now open. So, I can now apply a topical anesthetic that's going to work because the skin is open. Now, before I apply my topical though, I'm going to actually gently open the skin throughout. Really, really quick with my machine or my hand tool. Very lightly, just break the skin. Take you about 15 seconds, that's how fast. So I've broken the skin in the middle of the brow also. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my cleaning solution I have on my tray and I'm going to wipe all that pencil off. And all I've got is my little pattern. And then I'm going to dip into my tag. Tag is topical analgesic gel. It has epinephrine. And it only works on open skin. So I apply my tag. And now I'm going to go to the other side and just repeat everything I've done on this side. In other words, do my pattern, break the skin, and apply the tag. Okay, so let's get caught up here since I got totally ahead. Everybody with me here? Yep. Okay, now, once you have done this, you've got both patterns in, the skin is open, you're going to put a little more tag, apply more tag on each brow. Brow. And then you're going to occlude for 6 minutes. What does occlude mean?
Will it work?
Huh? Any idea what that means?
Let the numbing take effect.
Okay. Occlude means to cover. So you're going to take a piece of plastic and you're going to cover it over those brows. And you're going to set your timer for 6 minutes. What the occlusion does, it causes the skin to warm up and it makes that topical anesthetic seep in and work better. Now, I know there's people out there that say, you're not supposed to occlude tattoos because, you know, you can get epinephrine and anesthetic in the bloodstream and it can cause people to go into shock and blah, blah, blah. It's true. If you're working on a huge body piece, there was one case where a girl had a whole side piece of her thigh and her leg tattooed in one setting, and she was in so much pain that they took a bunch of a topical cream and they put it on there and they put saran wrap and they gave her, like, I don't know, 45 minutes and she started getting sick and throwing up, and they had to take her to the hospital and she had all that epinephrine in her body. It was too much for her body. But when you're doing something tiny, like a little eyebrow or a lip procedure, there's absolutely no way your body can absorb enough to cause harm. So, the one isolated incident has, you know, caused all kinds of rumors and things in the industry to happen. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.